my friends. I am Rob, the owner and lead performer here at the Lair of OmnusI. And I am here to make a video on a topic word for the RPGaDay for 2019 as posed by the RPGaDay. Today is the 23rd of August, and the word for today, is the 24th. The word for today is triumph. So, triumph. Interesting. I'm feeling a little bit devilish today, so we're going to kind of drift aside from talking about triumphs that I've had with my various characters, or the triumph that I felt when I really nailed a campaign and brought it to a close and the players thought it was the greatest thing they'd ever done and they couldn't wait to talk about it, and years later we're still talking about that game. That's a great thing. But, quite honestly, I wanted to talk about a different kind of triumph, and that is that sometimes evil's got to triumph. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like it's a kind of an obvious thing, but really, in my expanse of time that I've been observing role-playing games, one of the things that I've really noticed is that people are oftentimes loath to have players feel like their characters are losing, to the point where a lot of players will continue going straight ahead at a scenario, even if it's painted as fairly clear they are not going to be able to do what they want to do. They will die if they try, or, what have you, with the expectation that the world will part and they will still be able to get through with what they wanted to do. Even in something like a pickup game, a one-shot, where the game master has no vested interest in keeping those characters alive, I have seen this viewpoint where the players are so assured that their plot armor is enough to keep them going that they will needlessly march to their doom. And yeah, that's kind of rough. Especially when you see something like an adventure where every step of the adventure builds towards the success of the heroes. There's no moments for the villains to get a victory in, because the heroes are always expected they're going to come out on top in a given scenario. The heroes win, and then they, of course, move forward, and that's how they go. And quite honestly, the greatest villains of all time, they get their licks in when they can. They do win, and when they do, it doesn't end the story, but it spurs the heroes forward. Think The Lord of the Rings. Classic example of literature. Something most fantasy role-playing games are somehow based upon. The heroes do not have an easy journey. Merry and Pippin get kidnapped. Well, that sucks for them. That's certainly something that the group didn't feel was optimal. Boromir dies against a horde of Saruman's orcs. That certainly wasn't a victory that they had planned on, and the orcs end up taking Merry and Pippin, leaving the heroes to sharpen their resolve to save what they can, to try to go and get their hobbit friends back. They don't perfectly, completely succeed. Almost every victory that they gain is hard fought and has consequences. The villains, even though they are not completely defeated in any one of these engagements, do their damage and maintain their status as a credible threat, a truly horrible villain, by getting the victories that they do end up achieving. The numerous times in the story, the forces of evil almost get the ring. The heroes are parted, broken up. All seems lost in several places. And that means the victory is that much sweeter in the end. The heroes do end up triumphing, of course, if you... I hate to say that it might be a spoiler alert, but some people haven't read The Lord of the Rings or anything like that, so... Lee. But it's an important thing sometimes to let your villains have the chance to win at the very least. If you coddle your players and the players steamroll through an entire campaign without ever having really tasted defeat or even a great deal of challenge, well, how satisfying is the victory in the end? They've basically been handed a participation prize at that point. But at the same point, if you look through, several modules, adventure paths, what have you, you will see that the enemies are all lined up, ready to be knocked down by the heroes. The heroes just go battle to battle to battle to battle to battle, building on their triumphs. And there's no great challenge for them that might intercede and might stop their victory that they are going to have to work extra hard to overcome. It's oftentimes just martial challenges that they have to get past. The best adventures have intelligent villains who have fallbacks, who have alternate plans, and have some grand scope to them so that they have a plan to achieve ultimate success. And these pesky heroes that get in their way, well, until they notice them, they aren't going to stop their plans until the heroes really have to get in there and stop those plans, one way or the other. That can be tough, because sometimes you have to look your players in the eye and say, you know what? You tried, or maybe you didn't try enough, but bad things happen. The bad thing you were hoping wouldn't happen, happens. Now what do you do? The whole process of failing forward, the idea that the adventure goes on and is actually enriched by the player character's failures from time to time, and that even when things don't go their way, things continue to move forward and advance the story, really does sometimes forget that failing part. That there is a sting of the players not achieving their goals, and that the villains do get theirs in sometimes. It should be some sort of a consequence to the failure. It should not just be, I screwed up, but good things still happened and it still worked out. That's an important part of it, is failing. Yeah, there's going to be a conflict. There's going to be a complication. There's going to be a hazard that will happen or be created. A disadvantage, an injury, who knows? Because if the villain is not credible, and if they're not really a threat, they're not going to be a very good villain. If their plan is easy to break up, if, for instance, the villain's plan is to gather the 6 rings of woe and wheel them into the gauntlet of Infinus, the players get one of the rings. The villain goes, oh. One of the heroes is like, well, see how they like this. They open up a portal to another plane and pop it in. The DM's like, where'd you send that? Wouldn't you like to know? What? I'm the DM, I know. Well, I just picked one at random, so I can't tell you. I don't know. I just popped it somewhere else. The key thing is, I don't know, and neither does the villain. Crap. So, these things could very easily happen if, wow, we found a way to get rid of one of the things, so you'll never put together the Gauntlet of Infinus. You'll never have that ultimate moment. You'll never have that victory, so we're going to win by default now. because you aren't going to rule the world or destroy the nation or what have you. But let the villains win from time to time. It's an important part of the learning experience for players, and it's an important part of conflict building, is to have villains sometimes come out on top. Sometimes give the players a sound thrashing, or at least a really good challenge. Have the players win by the skin of their teeth. It'll make it better in the end. So, I know some of you think that, you don't have a problem with this, and maybe you don't. But, for those of you who are writing your own adventures, just something to keep in mind. Keep your villains appropriately villainous, and let them, when they are beaten, have them retreat and survive to fight another day, sure. But give them a chance to win. And then let the players snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. It means so much more when you do that. So, that's my take on Triumph, playing Devil's Advocate. Thank you for joining me, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to detail your own devious, villainous triumphs, the whole comment section down below can use your input, and I will be happy to hear and respond to any of that, so that would be wonderful. But until next time, I hope that you come back to see me again here in the lair. Tomorrow I'll be answering another question. That will be the next time that I crawl in front of the internet to answer another one of these question video things. Thank you, and farewell.